Hello and welcome to the Lund University International Podcast. On this show, you'll hear from current students, alumni, teachers, and many more special guests as we explore what it's really like to live and study in Lund. My name is Louise Corrigan-Konow and I am an International Migration Coordinator and Regional Recruitment Manager here at the External Relations Division at Lund University. Today we have a hopefully very interesting podcast episode coming your way. I have two guests who I will soon introduce. Today we will be talking about health support services for international students here at Lund University. So maybe you could introduce yourselves.
Yes, hi, my name is Simon Nilsson, and I work as a manager at the Student Health Center at the Lund University.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Hi, and my name is Kjellström. I work as a student chaplain here in Lund. I'm also coordinating the Multifaith Chaplaincy here in Lund.
Very cool. Welcome to you too.
Thank you.
So let's jump into it. So maybe we could start talking about the Student Healthcare Center. Could you please tell us a bit more about what you do and what your role is here at Lund University?
Yeah, absolutely. We work to provide preventive and treatment intervention regarding study-related mental health, ill health, sexual health, and alcohol issues. And we do this in different ways through individual counseling sessions. We work with groups, lectures, internet-based therapy, and a bit more. We are also we're doing testing for chlamydia and gonorrhea at our office or at our reception.
Cool. And this obviously is open to both international and national Swedish students. Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my roles are, first of all, I'm here to help people find what they're looking for in terms of spirituality or religion. So to guide people to their spiritual home away from home, so to speak. And we work with all different faiths and religions. So many of the students coming here to Lund, they have a background where faith is an important part of everyday life, and looking for a community or a church or somewhere to worship might be important to them. And then I'm sort of the guide into this. And so people come to me and ask, where can I find a synagogue? Where can I find a mosque? Where can I find a church? And I do my best to guide them in different directions and sort of act as a religious detective sometimes, finding very small communities, but usually I manage. So my other role is to be there when students need someone to talk to, if things happen in their life that is difficult to manage. So I guess that's my two roles in this.
Yeah. Nice. So obviously we like to believe that studying abroad is a very positive experience, and we know that our students, they very much look forward to coming to Sweden and embarking on their studies. But then, of course, life happens. I work myself as a migration coordinator, and I know that there are there can be stresses attached to moving, being away from your family. These often young people we're talking about. And as you mentioned, faith is very important for a lot of our international students. So I think it's a very important topic to raise here, navigating this experience that is studying abroad and making sure that you are aware of all the services that we offer. So if we go back to the Student Healthcare Center, what could be, you mentioned, obviously you listed all of the different services you mentioned. So what would you say is perhaps the most common reasons for contacting you? When can you really step in?
Yeah, students contact us, or they should contact us when they experience some kind of problem with their mental health that is related to either their studies or the situation, just as you mentioned. I mean, it's when we're talking about international students, it's not just their studies, it's the whole context of coming to another culture, and everything is a bit different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything from the way we talk to each other to the way the university works and the healthcare system and so on.
The seasons changing, seasonal depression.
Not to mention, absolutely. Yeah. So that's when they turn to us, and that's when we can help.
Yeah. And obviously, I can imagine also stress management. Yeah. Obviously, we have a very rigorous academic schedule here at Lund University, and we do place high demands on our students. There are very competitive programs to get enrolled in, and obviously the programs are fantastic at helping the students manage, their deadlines and whatnot. But that could still be something that they might need help with. Managing maybe stress. Absolutely,
and we offer different ways that we can help them. They can book an appointment with us and they can talk to a psychologist, for example, on a 1-by-1. But we also have groups for this, and we have internet-based treatments. If we're talking about stress.
I know I've been a student at Lund University myself, and I've never used your services, but I was very well aware of them. Okay. And I had friends who I think went and participated in a group about sort of on addressing procrastination. If they had a thesis to write, how do they get? Because obviously that could become a bit of a head thing. So they got great help. With regards to that.
That's good to hear.
This was many years ago. But
and I mean, not everyone relates to that they're experiencing stress. I mean, we can use many words of describing what we're going through. Some might use that they feel sad or depressed or anxious, or they might procrastinate. But there's many words of describing, I mean, the psychological downsides to being a human.
And that's a really good point, because obviously Lund University, we pride ourselves on being the most international university in Sweden. We have so many different nationalities represented here, and obviously they use different languages and they have different cultural frameworks to describe, as you were saying, the human experience. So they might say that they feel sad, but we would say we feel angry or stressed, they're different words, but it's the same human condition. Do you find that too in your work as a priest?
Of course. People come from all parts of the world, and they have different experience, different religions, different cultural backgrounds. And sometimes when I talk to people, I have to ask them, how do people think about this question back in their home country, just to orientate myself. So that is always important to take into account. So that definitely. Most of the people coming to us are non-believers, actually.
Interesting.
And I would say that the most common reason people come to us has to do with relationships. Either there's a breakup in a relationship, or there might even be a person back home in the family who's seriously ill or passed away or anything, and then you're here on the other side of the world sitting alone to deal with all of that. But we're also affected by events in the world. I mean, war breakout, and they're worried about things like that. So like you said, life happens, and we're people coming to us want to talk about life in different ways. We also get people want to talk about meaning and values, and actually some people want to talk about faith and their belief as well. As many students come here to Sweden are surprised, but Sweden is a very secular country, and they are surprised by this, and sometimes I want to talk about this, how to deal with living in a very secular country.
That's a really interesting point. I think also a really beautiful thing to really highlight, I mean, you've mentioned this, but the multi-faith aspect, because I think otherwise, as you said, you could be a spiritual detective, because I think otherwise that might be something that maybe is a bit scary, coming to a country that is Christian in its foundations. We are obviously very secular, as you said, but knowing that your door is always open, regardless of what faith you hold, or if you don't hold faith, you could still come.
Absolutely.
There's always room for
absolutely.
A conversation.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And like I said, I usually do my best, and I have managed. I mean, like, it could be the last time I was contacted at this term, actually, someone was looking for a community that's very, very small in Sweden, but I managed to find like 10 people to get together every second week.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that was success for me.
Wow, yeah.
To direct that student to that, So that's
really great to know. I think anyone who's listening to this who are seriously considering studying at Lund University should definitely make use of both your services if they're in need. Obviously, you're a little bit different in your outreach, but...
Sometimes I get mail. It's not uncommon for me to get mail from people before they come here. They want to ask me before, like, I'm coming in a couple of months. I already now want to see, where can I find this? Can you help me, direct me to that? So, and sometimes they're like, they can be worried about, like, I heard Sweden is very secular, can I even find this here? And then usually I can put them at ease, well, we fix that. We can find that for you. So,
That's so cool. I agree with everything you say. I am also the recruitment manager to Indonesia, amongst other countries. And I had a focus group with Indonesian students just a few weeks ago. And we came on to this subject about sort of moving to a very secular country and navigating that. And I know that a lot of them placed a lot of weight on how would life look as practicing a certain faith but living in Sweden.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Indonesia is majority there is Muslim.
Yes.
So, and every beginning of every term, the most usual question I get is actually from Muslim students. Where can I find places to pray during the day?
Yes.
That is an issue for them.
Yeah. And what is your answer to that?
Well, we've been working with the university for years now, providing, like, what's it called, stilla rum, or like spiritual spaces at different places throughout the university. And there are places like that where you can, like, go and pray or sit down to be yourself. So I try to direct them to those places. But in some cases, it's difficult to go away. Like, you need at least 20 minutes, and then you have to go for a distance and then get back. So, that's important for Muslim students. So,
yes, of course. So what would be your best tips for managing stress? So obviously we've talked about sort of the intervention side of things, or when a student feels either the need or the desire to seek your services, whatever they may be. But you two, obviously you work in this world, like, what would be your best tips or recommendations for when you are admitted to studies and you have moved to the other side of the world and you are embarking on this new life? How do you feel your best? Like, how do you navigate this in the best way, taking care of your inner self? It's a very big question.
It's very big and it's very good, but it's also very, very important. And I imagine we have the similar answers to it, but perhaps I can start and you can
do that.
I think it's very important to look at balance. Of course, when you move into a new context, you get carried away with everything that you're supposed to do, and there's a new social context, and perhaps the country is very secular and you're not used to that. So I think to look at your needs and to find a balance between what you need to do and what's your task and what is your needs. What is your interest? What did you do before you came here? And I think it's important to stick to that balance, if it was a healthy balance, of course. To remember if it is religion, for example, to get involved with that, or if it's physical training, keep doing that. And right now it's getting darker here in Sweden, so it's important to be outside during the day, even though the weather is depressing. We need to do that. But then, of course, to find a social context.
So important.
You mentioned, Jan, that most of your talks are about relationships, and we can never get away from that. It's the social context is important.
It's our nature as humans to be and work and live in like a context, social context.
But I also think that, I mean, coming to a new country, it's very important to be to accept that it's not fun all the time. It's very exciting, but it's also some kind of culture hangover, or to feel homesickness is always it's mandatory to go through periods of that. So it's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So having grace in that it won't be rainbows and unicorns the whole time, and obviously now we are moving into the winter and things slow down and people are home a bit more, and maybe the rush of having moved to Sweden will start sort of calming down a bit. Really great tips. What would be yours, Jan?
Well, I agree with everything Simon said, especially like the social context is like very, very important to find. I would say also that, remember that you're not alone struggling with your things, because so many students who come say like, I'm really struggling. It seems like everyone else is doing fine. And usually I say that's not true, because from my perspective, like it's difficult. So don't be despair if you feel like it's tough right now, because it is. So lower your demands, like you said a little bit. And also, if you're really struggling, like seek help sooner than later. Talk to someone. It can be a teacher, a counselor, a student health office, it can become student chaplains, or even a friend that you trust in, like talk to someone. Don't carry it around for too long by yourself. That's important.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is by handling it sooner rather than later, often you can perhaps resolve it easier.
I think so.
And sometimes all you need is like a good conversation. I mean, we're all the same, really. So basically what we're saying to anyone listening to this is obviously, come here, focus on your studies, try to do your best, but also have grace with yourself. This is a huge adjustment, and you will feel all different kind of emotions. And also you don't really know what life has in store. As I said, I work as a migration coordinator. The vast majority of our students, they have no issues with their residence permit, but sometimes they do. Sometimes life takes unknown turn, and you'll need help and reach out. We're here. Where can we find more information about your contact information, email addresses you mentioned, addresses, opening hours? It's on the website.
Yeah, it is. I don't know the address to the website, but you should Google Student Health Center, Lund University, and you will find your way. And you can also have a look at what we're offering.
Yes.
And it can sometimes help to get a view of that before you come. You can also contact us before you come, as we spoke to. Jan get a lot of emails before, and we do that as well. They ask us questions about us and the Swedish healthcare system. And you don't need to wait until you feel stressed or depressed to contact us. You can do that in a preventive purpose.
Perfect.
It's the same if you Google student chaplaincy or studentpräst, like this in Swedish. But there's another way. If you're looking for me, you can also go to the cathedral, which is hard to miss, and ask where can I find the student chaplains, and they will tell you go there. So that's a very tip that is very direct.
Yeah, and as you said, you cannot miss the cathedral. It's the center point of the city. Okay, so if we go there, we're very likely to find you.
Yeah, and actually I have a great story about that. I had a student. I was sitting in the cathedral, and this student who was first time away from home, other side of the world, had the first panic attack of her life. And because of her background, she stormed to the cathedral. And luckily I was sitting in there. So that
what a beautiful story.
So that went out really well, because we were managing her situation then, and she took her exam 2 years later. So that was nice. So
What a fantastic story to end with. Your work in action, in live action. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that marks the end of today's podcast. Thank you so much to both of you for coming and sharing your tips and experiences.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you around.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Lund University International Podcast. If you're interested in learning more about Lund University, you can go to our website lunduniversity.lu.se. You can also follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook and X, and you can chat with current students on Unibuddy. Please don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to bringing you a new episode very soon.